congratulations on this film. It is so impactful, so powerful, just an incredible watch. Why was this an important topic for you to want to tackle and create a documentary about?
Well, I would love it. Since this is the last interview of the day, I'm getting a little cocky. Um, but I'd love it if you could just say something about why you think it was important and like hear it from you before I jump
Mhm.
in.
For me, I think a lot of people, it's hard for them to empathize with the situation unless they hear about it the way that you present it. Because as somebody who's gone through something like this, it like people don't understand it. And you humanize it so well in this film that it really does touch your soul when you're watching it.
That's nice. That's nice. I like the touch your soul because
Mhm.
it definitely touched my soul.
Mhm.
And I guess we want to talk about what it is.
Mhm.
Um, the subject of the film, Complicated,
Mhm.
which is having its world premiere at Slamdance in February. It is what we're looking at is sort of like a microcosm of a larger issue. But what it is we're looking at uh, kids, young people with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, EDS. And that's a connective tissue disorder, which, because it's connective tissue and connective tissue is in all the organs of the body, all the different parts of the body, it affects all the different parts of the body. So it's multi-system and multi-symptom. And it sort of springs up usually around puberty, or if there's some kind of physical trauma or emotional trauma, it gets triggered. And parents don't know what's going on. Their kids usually in a lot of pain because it causes pain amongst other symptoms. Um, and they start to take their kid to all sorts of specialists because they need to. There's no one thing that can help them, and they're not getting a diagnosis. The tests look pretty much normal. There's no genetic test that we have to diagnose the most common form of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is hypermobile EDS.
Mhm.
And so the kids sort of like start this journey of becoming disbelieved, of being told it's in their head, of having this experience that's just this lived experience that's denied, and they start to not trust doctors. They're not getting help. Their parents continue desperately to try to get them help. And eventually the kid might uh, end up in a children's hospital for some emergency because there's often a lot of emergencies that happen. And now in children's hospitals, we have a specialty called medical child abuse, and there are medical child abuse physicians whose job it is to to find and target cases of medical child abuse. And this is what that it looks like. It looks like, that there's, the kid doesn't have a problem. It looks like the parents are doctor shopping. Maybe there's nothing wrong with the kid. We can't find any definitive tests or diagnoses. So it looks like the sort of typical case of medical child abuse or Munchausen by proxy, which is even
Mhm.
worse, which is the parent purposefully trying to make the kid sick for their
Mhm.
own psychological purposes. Uh, that's kind of like the sketch, the sort of
Mhm.
like broad sketch of what happens to these families. And it's a case where the systems that we have set up to help um, people in need, specifically kids, whether medically or to protect them from any kind of harm, child protective services, is actually hurting them. So that's what the film is about. It's a medical saga, but it's also sort of a legal saga. Like what happens when when the medical system can't accommodate or can't figure it out, and therefore we make assumptions that it must be psychological or there must be some kind of abuse going on. There's some kind of harm that the guardians are doing to their own children, and the results are just devastating, as you see in the film.
Definitely. And how were you introduced to this subject matter that, it impacted you enough that you wanted to spread the word and have people have a better understanding of what's happening with these young people?
Someone came to me with this idea. I didn't know about it prior because they had seen a previous film of mine called Under Our Skin, which is about the Lyme disease epidemic. And there's some similarities in terms of like medical gaslighting,
Hmm.
patients not being taken seriously, difficulty of diagnosing, misdiagnoses. There was a background. I had a background in this and an interest in it. Um, I was immediately interested. I wanted to tell the story. It hadn't really been told before in a documentary. And I was interested in all the different sort of prongs of the issue, that it's not just about a disease. It's
Hmm.
not, it's not just about medical kidnapping or medical child abuse, that issue. It's about a lot of complexes that come together, that sort of intersect at this point, which is both incredibly like emotional and
Hmm.
heartbreaking and painful, um, but that it's sort of like in that place where it comes together, where all these different realities come together. Like that's also the possibility for hope and for some sort of change to happen. And that is my hope, my ultimate hope for this film is that it can catalyze change.
Definitely. I think it will definitely start that discussion. And as much as, empathy is needed for these patients, how much is, knowledge also needed? Because it seems that there is a lack of knowledge about not just EDS, but anybody with illness or disease like this.
Yeah, I mean, yes, absolutely. Empathy is definitely needed, and time is needed in order, like, and we don't have that. We don't like doctors don't spend enough time with cases, and so complicated cases like this fall through the cracks. The legal system doesn't have the time to deal with complicated cases like this, so they fall through the cracks as well. So empathy is needed, time is needed, but yes, knowledge is needed as well. Research is needed, and I say in the description for the film, it's a place where it's sort of like the intersection of invisible and complex disease and lack of knowledge, lack of research. And the limits, or you could call it failures of our child protective system, like all those things coming together and creating this problem. Um, so it's um, uh, it's just again like to me that the clash of all those things is both causing the problem, the sort of like the root of the problem, and in sort of we have to address all of those different things, not just one. Um, but it's also within that within that place, within that the spark that comes
Hmm.
forth from that we can, that there is hope for some kind of change. And again, that's why I make these films. That's why I made this film, is that we can create a discussion around it. I think there's a fertile territory right now around healthcare, around the failures of healthcare. Um, following the the killing, the assassination of the
Hmm.
insurance CEO, and what that's the conversation that sparked. The Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and what he's trying to bring
Hmm.
forth, whether he gets confirmed or not, around children's health and around um, healthy living, which are also part of this story.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of things that I think that make the time right now is a fertile time to bring forth the story. So again, that's my hope that we can be part of that conversation.
For you, you are not just the director, you're also filming this. How daunting of a task is it for you to, capture this and present it in a very human way to give these people that are suffering a voice which they wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, the it's pretty rare to have a filmmaker that does the interviewing, the directing, and the filming at the same time. And usually, very often, I do that. Um, and partly it's a, it's about creating intimacy.
Mhm,
The less people involved, um, that so I have to wear a lot of different hats. Um, but it just makes me more present in a certain way. Um, the camera actually focuses me in an important way. So um, I'm it's sort of like this sort of like gestalt, like all the things are happening at once, and so it kind of provides a real like hyper focus and on what's happening. So that to me is just sort of like it's something that I've learned to do. I think it's helped heighten intimacy. Um, and um, I don't know what else more I can say about that, but it's a it's been hard, specifically with this population, people who are suffering so much, and you do learn to really care about them. and and you see the injustice that's happening and you want to do something about it, but it's I can't go into the doctor's office and shake them and saying you're wrong.
mhm,
I can't go to the judge and say you're wrong. You gotta you gotta stop. You've got to stop persecuting these families.
mhm.
So hopefully the film can do that.
Definitely. And going with that, through the process of making your films, how much does the business and politics side of medicine affect the treatment that people get?
The business side, and what was the other side?
And politics.
Politics. I'm going to leave the politics side. I'm going to leave that one alone. Well, maybe I won't. Let's see where this goes. But this financially, like that's a big part of it. Doctors in our system of uh, cookie cutter medicine, and HMOs, we don't have doctors don't have time to spend with patients,
Mhm,
and everything is specialized. Nobody's connecting the dots. It's nobody's job to really connect the dots. And just because of that, because of the lack of time, um, uh, this population is falling through the cracks and
mhm,
not believed. So that's a big part of it is the financial incentive is it's working against these populations that are complicated and complex, that need time, that need resources that we don't have, that are not given to the issue. Um, on the political side, there's, I don't know, there's a lot involved. Like, you know, there's this is a situation where the state is coming down. The state is sort of like telling the family what it can do. Like the family is the parents are losing control.
mhm,
It's the imposition of the state, and that's a political issue. Um, So there's other political issues around this, around sexism in medicine,
mhm,
which is rampant and which is certainly true in this population. There's issues around access to care for minorities, which is also affected. Like there's not many people, people of color, Black people who are who seem to have this illness, not because they don't have it, but because of access to care issues. Um, So there's really a lot of areas. Another political issue is the uh, narcotics, the pain medications that these kids need just to survive, just to get along. But they don't get them. They can't get them because of the whole the abuse issue around narcotics. So that's another issue that brings into politics. So, again, that's one reason why I like this project because it touches on so many different issues.
What has it meant for you to have to have Slamdance select this film to be shown as part of their film festival?
What does it mean to me?
Yeah,
Uh, well, it's really exciting. Of 10,000 submissions, they took this film. That's incredibly exciting, and um, I'm grateful. So I'm very grateful that it's in Slamdance. I think it's a really good venue for this film because Slamdance is sort of like legend in a legendary way. It's fierce. It's fiercely independent, um, and it honors the sort of independent films and independent voice. And I think this film sort of represents that as well. It is very independent. Um, and I hope that from this that there is that it's the beginning of a long road where this film gets seen so it can make a difference.
definitely. Well, congratulations on it. It is an incredible watch. It's so impactful and so informative. And, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah. Thank you, Jesus.